I kicked my own mom out because my wife hates her. The moment my son said those words, I felt something inside me crack so quietly, yet so deeply, that even breathing became painful. I still remember that afternoon. The rain tapped softly against my kitchen window while I folded tiny baby clothes for my grandson. I was smiling to myself, thinking about how blessed I was. My son Daniel had a beautiful wife, a healthy child, and a warm home. I thought we were a family, but I had no idea that, in their house, I had already become unwanted. Daniel used to be the kindest boy. After his father passed away, it was just the two of us. I worked double shifts at a diner 4 years so he could finish school. There were nights I skipped dinner so he could have enough food. I sold my wedding jewelry to help pay for his college tuition. And every time life knocked me down, I told myself one thing: it's okay. One day my son will have a better life. And he did. When Daniel married Vanessa, I welcomed her with my whole heart. She was beautiful, confident, and smart. I treated her like my own daughter. I cooked her favorite meals, babysat whenever she asked, and even helped pay for their down payment when they bought their first house. But Vanessa never truly liked me. At first, it was small things, little comments hidden behind polite smiles. "You don't have to come over so often, Martha." Or, "We're trying to raise Oliver differently." Daniel would laugh awkwardly whenever she said things like that. And I ignored the sting in my chest because I didn't want to create problems. I told myself she was stressed. New mothers get overwhelmed sometimes. But what I didn't know that day was that Vanessa wasn't just annoyed by me. She wanted me gone. One evening, Daniel invited me over for dinner. I arrived carrying homemade soup and a small teddy bear for Oliver. But the second I stepped inside, I felt the tension. Vanessa barely looked at me. Daniel avoided eye contact. And throughout dinner, silence sat at the table like a dark shadow. Finally, Vanessa put her fork down. "We need to talk." My hands froze. Daniel rubbed his forehead nervously. Then Vanessa spoke again. "I think it's unhealthy how dependent Daniel still is on you." I blinked in confusion. "Dependent?" Daniel sighed heavily. "Mama Vanessa thinks maybe we need some space." Space? Such a soft word for something so cruel. I forced a smile even though my chest burned. "Oh, of course. I can visit less." "No, we mean completely." The room suddenly felt cold. I stared at my son, waiting for him to defend me. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and said proudly, "I kicked my own mom out because my wife hates her. And honestly, it's better for my marriage. Not because a stranger hated me, but because my own son looked relieved while breaking my heart." And that was the night I walked out of my son's house, carrying a teddy bear no one wanted, without realizing it would be the last time I cried for him. The weeks after that dinner were the loneliest of my life. Daniel stopped answering my calls. My photos with Oliver disappeared from social media. Even birthdays and holidays passed in silence. It was as if I had died, while still being alive. Every morning, I sat alone at my kitchen table staring at my phone, hoping for a message. Nothing came. At first, I blamed Vanessa. I convinced myself she manipulated him. But deep down, another truth slowly began to hurt more. Daniel was making these choices himself. One afternoon, I accidentally ran into an old neighbor who lived near Daniel's house. "Oh, Martha," she whispered carefully, "I didn't know you moved away." I frowned. "Moved away?" She looked confused. "Vanessa tells everyone you were emotionally controlling and that Daniel finally escaped you." My stomach dropped. Escaped me? After everything I sacrificed. I walked home in tears that day. Not because strangers believed lies about me, but because my own son allowed those lies to grow. That night, something changed inside me. For months, I had been mourning like a broken mother begging for love. But suddenly, I became tired. Tired of chasing people who were comfortable hurting me. So I stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped waiting, and slowly I started rebuilding my own life. I joined a small gardening club. I took painting classes. I even traveled with a group of women my age for the first time in decades. And for the first time since Daniel was born, I started living for myself. Then something unexpected happened. My life improved. I laughed again. I slept peacefully again. The silence that once felt empty slowly became freedom. Until one evening, Daniel called me. After almost 11 months. His voice sounded shaky. "Mom!" My hands trembled hearing him again. But his next words weren't an apology. "I need help." Of course he did. Because life has a strange way of exposing people when they run out of options. Vanessa had quit her job months earlier to become an online lifestyle influencer. They spent money carelessly. Expensive vacations, designer furniture, luxury clothes. And now Daniel was drowning in debt. Their house payments were behind. Credit cards were maxed out. And the woman he destroyed his mother for was threatening divorce. "She says I ruined her life," he whispered. For years, I protected Daniel from pain. But now pain had finally found him on its own. "Mom, can I borrow some money?" That question told me everything. Not "how are you?" Not "I am sorry." Just money. I looked around my peaceful little apartment filled with plants, paintings, and quiet happiness. And suddenly I realized something painful. I no longer missed the version of my son standing on the other side of that phone. Because the little boy I raised would never have treated me this way. "I can't help you, Daniel," I said softly. Silence filled the call. Then anger exploded from his voice. "So you're abandoning me now?" I almost laughed through my tears. A month later, Daniel showed up at my apartment unexpectedly. He looked exhausted. His expensive clothes were wrinkled. Dark circles sat under his eyes. The confidence he once carried so proudly had completely disappeared. For a second, I saw the little boy who used to run into my arms after school. And my heart almost softened. Almost. "Mom," he whispered, "please." I stayed quiet. Then he finally admitted the truth. Vanessa had left him. Not only that, she had already started dating someone else. The house was being repossessed. And Daniel had discovered she secretly blamed me for every problem in their marriage. Because she was jealous of the love he once gave me. "She said you made her feel second place," he said weakly. I stared at him for a long moment. Then I asked the question buried inside me for over a year. "And what did you do when she humiliated me?" Daniel lowered his head. "Nothing." That silence answered everything. Tears filled his eyes. "I thought choosing her proved I was a good husband." His voice cracked. But I became a terrible son. For the first time since that horrible dinner, I saw genuine regret in his face. Not desperation. Not pride. Real regret. And strangely, that became my revenge. Not watching him suffer. Not humiliating him. But watching him finally understand the pain he caused. Because guilt is heavier than anger. Daniel begged me to let him move in with me for a while. And honestly, part of me wanted to say yes immediately. That's what mothers do. We love even when our hearts are wounded. But another part of me remembered the lonely nights, the unanswered calls, the lies, the sentence that shattered me forever. I kicked my own mom out because my wife hates her. So I took a deep breath and made the hardest decision of my life. "No, Daniel." His face fell instantly. "I love you," I whispered. "But loving someone doesn't mean allowing them to destroy you twice." He broke down crying right there in my doorway. And despite everything, I cried too. Because sometimes the greatest pain isn't losing strangers. It's surviving the people you once loved most. Before leaving, Daniel looked at me one last time. I don't deserve forgiveness, do I? I wiped my tears slowly. Forgiveness and trust are different things. Then I closed the door gently. Not with hatred, not with revenge, but with peace. Months passed after that. Daniel eventually found a small apartment and started rebuilding his life alone. Sometimes he sends short messages checking on me. Sometimes I reply. Sometimes I don't. Because healing taught me something important. A mother's love is powerful, but it should never require her to disappear as a person. For years, I believed sacrifice was the same as love. Now I know better. Real love doesn't ask you to destroy yourself to prove your worth. And if someone can only value you after losing you, then the lesson was never meant for you. It was meant for them.